So the basis of the book is a 27-year-old woman who is trying to give up on her art. She's decided that she's no longer going to be an artist. She's going to become an ordinary person, learn how to talk about the weather. And on the way, on her quest, I guess, to her ordinary life, she meets a ghost from the early 1900s named Gladys. Gladys, when she appears, is dressed in a long white cotton gown normally and kind of a choppy haircut and as an elderly woman. And she only ever appears to Frida. No one else can see her. So Frida and Gladys in this section are going out on the town together on the bus. At 10 o'clock that evening, I told everyone I was going out on the town. Mr. H looked dubious, Norman envious, and Whitman amused. I stood at the bus stop in the indigo evening with Gladys floating dimly beside me. "Are you sure no one else can see you?" I asked. "I'd hate to start mass panic on the transit system." "Just you." The bus stopped and we boarded. I sat on the outer seat so Gladys could sit by the window. The bus was mostly empty when we started out, but as we neared our destination, it began to fill up. I stared straight ahead. Out of the corner of my eye, I could see a lady in a green lumpy sweater with a big black purse standing beside me in the aisle. I glanced up at her briefly and was met with a grumpy stare. I looked away and hummed a little. "Would you please push over?" she said. I glanced at Gladys, who was absorbed with the sights out the window. "I can't really." The woman gave an exasperated sigh and heaved herself over my knees and into the empty seat. I got a mouthful of hairy sweater. Gladys disappeared from view. "Oh," I said, "you just sat on your imaginary friend?" "Where'd she go?" I said, looking around the bus. "Day pass, honey?" asked the woman. "Always take all the medication you're prescribed." "Oh, be quiet." I stood up and turned, holding onto the bar of the seat. Gladys floated in the back of the bus beside 3 teenagers in dark sunglasses and baseball caps. They listened to rap on a portable CD player. Gladys bobbed up and down. I walked unsteadily down the aisle and stood beside her. "What is this music?" she asked. "It's rap," I said out loud. "No shit, Sherlock," said one of the teens. "Let's move to the front," I said to Gladys. "I ain't moving," said the boy holding the CD player. "Are you a cop?" "No, I'm out on a day pass." I looked at Gladys and jerked my head towards the front of the bus. She ignored me. I jerked my head again. "She twitches, too," said the teen closest to me, to the dreadlocked white boy beside him. "Hey," I said to Gladys. She moved up and down in time to the music with her eyes closed. "It's almost our stop. Come on." One of the fellows turned and scanned the empty spot I addressed. "You're totally in code, lady. Who the F you talking to?" "Jesus," I said. "He's always wanted to take a bus ride." "Right," he said. "Going to the grocery store to get you some tinfoil for a hat?" The other boys snickered. I nodded and headed for the front of the bus. Gladys drifted along behind me. We disembarked on the sidewalk in front of the Palace Theatre. I always forget to do this. They're going to the Palace Theatre, which is an old theatre in Winnipeg that Gladys actually used to dance in back in the early 1900s. We disembarked on the sidewalk in front of the palace. It was a Tuesday night and the street was mostly deserted. "You need to listen to me when we're out," I told Gladys. "You could have got me in trouble on the bus." Whitman said the keys were for the back entrance. "Let's go around here." I couldn't get over that music. Rap. Her head started to jerk up and down again. "I'm Gladys. I got no body. It's cruddy. I'm Gladys." I stared at her for a second, then burst into laughter. "You go, girl." Around the back was a large green steel door. There were 2 keys, one for the doorknob lock and one for a deadbolt. I opened the door into a long hallway dimly lit with emergency lights. I felt around the wall, but I couldn't find a switch. It was kind of spooky, But what was I worried about? I'd see a ghost? About halfway down the hallway was a door marked stage right. I opened it, and we were in another hallway, this one shorter. There was a switch to the left of the door. I flicked it, and a dim row of lights near the floor came on. Backstage lights, I whispered to Gladys. We used to have small oil lamps backstage in Toronto, said Gladys. You had to be careful not to upset them when making your entrances and exits. She was whispering too. We went down the little hallway and onto the stage. It was almost completely dark. I'm going to try and find some lights, I said. Gladys stood on the stage looking out at the seats. I made my way across the stage and down the stairs into the aisle beside the orchestra pit. Near the door, I found a panel of light switches and a large bar switch. I held my breath and flipped the large switch. The first row of stage lights came on. Gladys was nowhere to be seen. Gladys, I said in a loud whisper. Empty theaters are so churchy, I didn't feel I could yell. Gladys, where the heck did you go? There was a rustle of curtains at the back, and an elegant young woman walked out on the stage. Her dark brown hair was swept into a loose bun at the back of her neck, and large waves curled around the front of her face. She wore a long, pale blue dress covered in shimmering golden beads. I scrambled to think of a fib to explain why I was in the theater. I could say I was Whitman's assistant and had come ahead to prepare for his arrival. The woman stopped at center stage, put her arms out in front of her. Put her arms out in front of her. I cleared my throat and was about to speak, wanting to catch her before she started to rehearse, when she began bobbing her head up and down. I'm Gladys. I got no body. It's cruddy. I'm Gladys. Gladys? Oh, God. She stopped singing, began to move her hips back and forth, and swayed her shoulders. Gladys was dancing. She was young again, and she was dancing. I stood in the dark aisle, and tears rolled down my cheeks. I stood there mesmerized until she finished her dance, and then I walked up to the front of the stage. Gladys turned and smiled at me. That felt marvelous, she said. You look amazing, I said. I was nice to look at back then. She looked down at herself. It didn't last forever. Come, sit. She walked over to the edge of the stage and sat, with her legs dangling over. I hesitated, feeling strangely shy. The old Gladys had been relatively easy to speak to, but this metamorphosed, dazzling creature intimidated me. Do you want me to change back? She asked, as if reading my thoughts. No, I'd like you to stay this way forever. I wish you could have stayed that way. So that's one section.